Hello everybody, my name is Rich Klusuk.
And I'm Scott Parker.
In this fourth video, we're going to be talking about the vision statement in Legacy Leesburg, as well as the guiding principles for the document.
The guiding principles emerge from discussions around specific topics critical to preserving and enhancing the quality of life in Leesburg. We feel these principles embody the core philosophy of embracing and celebrating Leesburg's history, while at the same time proactively planning for its future. Leesburg is a place that a diverse group of people are proud to call home. Drawn in by the history, they stay for the strong sense of community. The small town feel and charm, walkable areas, access to green space and trails, places to gather, and a thriving downtown all come together to make Leesburg distinct from the other towns in the region. As the seat of Loudoun County, one of the fastest growing areas in Virginia and the country, Leesburg will continue its transition from its small town roots to a more vibrant and dynamic community. As the population continues to grow, it is imperative that Leesburg protect its authentic sense of place and small town feel, with the understanding that small town feel is not dependent on the size of the population or the square mileage of the town. It is instead a reflection upon connections to neighbors and a shared investment in the success of the community. The town is committed to managing growth to retain and improve upon the qualities that make Leesburg a special and welcoming place for all people. Town character and authenticity. Retain and protect the historic core of Leesburg and provide a high-quality brand and sense of place that stretches throughout the entire community. Balance this need to preserve Leesburg's existing character and authenticity with accommodating expected growth and allowing for purposeful, quality development in a strategic location to meet the needs of existing and future residents, businesses, and visitors. Ensure high-quality development that reflects the character of the community and maintains high-quality gateways and corridors to ensure Leesburg remains distinct from surrounding communities.
We've been talking about that in all of the past three videos about how important the character of Leesburg was to its residents and how that character was largely based on the downtown area.
And just like I said in the last video, there's as many opinions about character and authenticity as there are pages in the document. So what we're trying to do is distill this down into a common theme that resonates with the variety of opinions and the diversity of the population that we have.
The town character is somewhat of an abstract idea based on a lot of things, like the way Leesburg looks, its architectural character, and how its community comes together in certain neighborhoods and in the downtown area.
Its interactions, its differences from one end of the town to the other. Character means a lot of things to a lot of different people.
So when we're thinking about the character of Leesburg in the future, we want to take the character that you see in Leesburg and we want to preserve it, and we want to extend it to other parts of town so that we can accommodate growth in a meaningful way that benefits residents and provides amenities while continuing to maintain that small town feel.
And to a lot of people, character changes over the years. The character of Leesburg right now is not necessarily the same as it was in the 1800s when you had dirt streets. So the goal is to try to maintain the character or the sense of what makes the community a place and carry that forward through the future without altering it to something that people won't recognize. Dollars and cents, business and the economy. Take advantage of Leesburg's enviably strong market where, for many land uses, demand is outpacing the supply. Harness this potential growth in a manner that enhances resident quality of life, reinforces a unique brand for the town, and creates a strong and sustainable local economy.
So when we say take advantage of Leesburg's enviable strong market, what that means is recognizing that there's a market for all sorts of different uses there, but to ensure that that market is used to provide the types of development that results in amenities for the town's residents. Throughout the public outreach stages of this project, we heard a lot of people with different opinions saying, I want to have a Trader Joe's, or I'd like to have a new park, or I'd like to have this particular type of store. But we can't necessarily get those if we completely stop growth. So it's important to have growth in a meaningful way there's a lot of development pressure out there. So what this town plan does is try and ensure that that development pressure results in the kinds of development that'll actually benefit the town residents, that creates the kinds of walkable environments that residents are looking for, and that provides amenities. Besides that, another major component is, of course, job creation and ensuring that the types of development that we do create can result in jobs and tax revenues for the town.
Once you dive into the market study that was done as part of this effort, Leesburg is in an enviable position, as well as a challenging position, of being able to take whatever kind of development comes our way. It's going to be incumbent upon us to grow smart and choose the type of things that furthers all of the goals that we've been speaking about. Moving around town, transportation and mobility. Provide a safe, reliable, and efficient transportation system that promotes and enhances mobility and connectivity between neighborhoods and destinations through a multimodal network of complete and walkable streets, sidewalks, and trails for transit riders, pedestrians, and cyclists.
When we think about moving around town, the town has done a really good job at providing for the mobility of cars. However, what we're looking to do a little bit more of in the future is to think about moving more than just cars, to move people. If you look at this example of Sickland Road, you can see that this is a great project that was recently completed that created the ability to move cars very quickly along Sickland Road. The same is true along East Market Street.
Some might say we've become exceedingly proficient at building enough capacity to move cars from one side of town to the other or through the town in the majority of cases. But that does come at the expense at times of other types of mobility, such as pedestrian access and cycling.
So when we talk about moving around town, a big focus of this guiding principle is expanding pedestrian mobility. This new town plan really seeks projects to improve mobility beyond cars, looking at things like pedestrian mobility, cyclists, public transportation, and even ride sharing and other mobility options that we might see in the future.
Places to live, enhancing neighborhoods and improving home choices. Protect and enhance the quality and character of existing residential neighborhoods. Seek opportunities to offer a variety of housing types at a variety of price points that appeal to a wide range of households and enable residents to live in Leesburg throughout all stages of their life. Ensure that neighborhoods are connected to walkable destinations such as parks, open space, recreational facilities, and other activity centers.
Scott and I actually had the opportunity to talk a little bit about this when we were at Bulldogs at Welland Park.
Another key concern that came from the public was the lack of affordable housing. Housing comes in a variety of different shapes, styles, and colors, and they fulfill different needs depending on where you are and what stage of life you're at, depending on what your income might be. One example of one of the concerns expressed by the community is when my children come back from college, they're not going to be able to afford to live in Leesburg. Other people had concerns when I'm older and I need to downsize, there isn't housing available to fit my needs in the future.
That's combined with what we've heard about service workers coming from West Virginia because they can't afford to live in this area either. We heard from a lot of business owners downtown that have restaurants and service industries that there is just not the employee pool here in Leesburg because of housing considerations for them to adequately staff their businesses.
One of the problems with people coming in from West Virginia to fill some of the lower paying jobs is that they're essentially creating more cars on the road and contributing to the traffic problem. So if there were more affordable housing options available, that's so many additional cars that you can get off the road.
And one of the jobs that we're trying to accomplish is to try to take housing in total and apply it to the entire community as best as possible.
Affordable housing doesn't have to be a bad thing. Affordable simply means people can afford it. There are a lot of people that need to afford housing. I need to afford housing. Scott needs to afford housing. Kids graduating from college with their first job need to be able to afford their housing. Our senior citizens that are exiting the workforce need to be able to afford housing. And it's not just about affordability, it's also about housing choice. People want to be able to choose different types of housing. Anybody that drives around Leesburg to any of the big construction sites will see that there are two types of housing that are being constructed: single-family homes and townhouses. Not everybody wants to live in those. Some people want to be able to live in more of an apartment-style community. Something like the Village at Leesburg, for example, when you can walk down the stairs and walk across the street to one of the many bars and restaurants that are there. Some people simply want to have that choice. Also, as people age and get older, they want to be able to gradually downsize and move away from their suburban communities that they very much loved, but to experience a new lifestyle where they can simply walk down the street to the restaurant or to meet their friends or something of that nature.
And it was surprising during the public input session how many people live in Leesburg their whole lives, or a large percentage of their lives, that want to step down in housing style in order to still stay in the area. And those particular choices are limited in a lot of different ways.
With regard to housing, one of the key things that this plan emphasizes is choice, providing choices to the different types of people at different stages of life.
All things green: parks, open spaces, greenways, and natural resources. Preserve, conserve, and enhance Leesburg's natural resources, parks, and streetscapes, otherwise known as public realm, to support the health and well-being of the community and the environment.
Throughout the public input phases of the project, we heard repeatedly that residents want more parks and open spaces, and they often said, "Don't develop anymore, keep land as open space."
While that's great in concept, the practical reality is there is existing zoning, and property owners have rights under law and the zoning that makes the provision of that type of open space potentially an expensive proposition if it can be done at all.
Right, if we wanted to keep any land that has not been developed into town as open space, we would have to take the development rights away from a property owner, in essence by buying that property or going through a series of other potential options that would result in something really expensive.
And that's not to say, however, though, that during rezoning applications or a change of use that we have the opportunity to try to incorporate green space into said developments. It's a different proposition if you want to go into existing areas of town and provide additional open space that otherwise doesn't exist.
But what Legacy Leesburg does accomplish is planning for the future and redevelopment of certain project sites so that we can actually reclaim land that has previously been developed as open space. Say, for example, taking a large parking lot and redeveloping that site and creating a new open space in the town to benefit town residents and to create one of those gathering spaces that we also heard so much about. This plan also takes a more proactive approach with regard to natural resources and ensuring that the natural resources in town are preserved and to some extent enhanced.
We hope you've enjoyed this video and found it informative.
In the next video, we're going to be talking about some of the very specific town plan policies and give you examples of how they would apply.
So we will see you in the next video.